It's been great to come here. The venue's great. The conversations have been really productive. And I think one of the things that has been quite exciting is we heard the announcement about the Capricornus well during the event. And all of that kind of just gave it some energy and I think brought the conversations to life. So I was on the gas panel yesterday, and it brought together was a voice from Namcor, from BW Kudu, and then also from Standard Bank. So it was a good sort of broad discussion, and I think it really centred on with oil, you can get a relatively straightforward development that's self-contained, but for gas, the commercialization pathways is very different because you rely much more on the value chain and linking where that gas goes, and then if it's into power, ultimately where those power customers are. So I think we really just unpacked some of the timing and the complexities around how gas might be developed in Namibia. It's firstly worth recognising that Namibia is frontier exploration, and by its nature, the risks are high. So your sort of success rate, certainly your commercial success rate, is going to be less than 50%. So Shell's write-down was just a reminder of the risks involved in developing discoveries. And when it comes to commercializing projects, I think about it in sort of the three main buckets, which is the economics. They've got to be meeting the company's hurdle rates. There's the risk profile, it's got to be acceptable. And then lastly, the emissions profile. And I think in the case of Shell's projects, very challenging wells, very challenging rocks, it was going to be a real struggle to drill the wells that produce enough, because as soon as you go offshore, you're already counting the project cost in billions of dollars. So you need wells that are phenomenal producers. It does happen. Exploration costs will typically be written down when there's no pathway to commercialization. It's a fairly routine thing in the upstream oil and gas industry. But if you look at, there's, Venus project, offshore Namibia is the one that's the most mature. The oil majors they'll follow a fairly well-structured approach when it comes to defining projects, and they'll have various stage gates that they follow. And more or less, all of the big companies follow this same approach. And you start off with the concepts. So in the case of Venus, it might be, okay, what kind of size of FPSO might we want to look at? What's the ratio of producers to injectors? What does it mean for the depletion plan? And they might come up with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different scenarios or concepts. And then they'll pick the one or two that they think, these ones just look the best. And then they'll start to dedicate some engineering and technical teams to really define that a lot better. And in parallel with that, there's the commercialization part. So ultimately, is this going to meet the company's economic hurdle rates, its criteria? They'll be looking at the fit for the company, the cash flow profiles. Do they need to farm out? Is it a good fit with their business? And that will just gradually move ahead. And then they'll also be engaging with the stakeholders in the government, things like approvals. And even this week, we're seeing TotalEnergies is in town as part of its community engagement and its environmental approvals. So gradually, there'll be more and more resources and effort committed to a project. Its definition is going to be improved. And for the Venus project, so there's been some sort of very specific numbers now provided about what the project's going to look like. And the engineering teams will just be fine-tuning that and trying to pin down what costs and what contracts, what that contracting strategy might look like. And eventually the project will get to a stage where the company's happy that it can proceed. There's no major risks or contingencies. There's alignment with the partners and the government. And then the big key moment is going to be the final investment decision when all the partners approve the budget for this. And then that's the point where contracts can be awarded, construction moves ahead, and the thing comes to life. That's something that's a bit less well defined than the oil project. So certainly for Venus, the plan the operator has is to initially re-inject the gas, and that's going to reduce some of the costs and some of the risks. It's going to provide reservoir pressure support, so there'll be indirectly additional oil recovery, and the gas is still available in future to come either to the domestic market in Namibia or potentially for exports. But at this point, it's not clear what that might look like. But if you look at other deep water oil projects with associated gas, often the gas might come along 5 or 10 years later when really the oil production is really well established. The country, and another thing to consider is Namibia is going to have the cash flows from the oil and maybe in a position where it can co-invest in some of that shared infrastructure. So that's the associated gas. The option is different for a project like Kudu, which is more non-associated gas. So I think for a project like that, it's a question if it can piece together a field development plan and then arrange the commercial agreements and find the partners to sell the gas to. Potentially could be a gas to power plant. But for that to happen, then that whole power side of it needs to be ready as well, because you can't produce the gas if you don't have somebody that's ready to buy it from you. Well, certainly I think the intention is there, the logic's there. But when you get down to the point where, okay, our company's ready to spend hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, there's still a big piece of work that's required there. So we know that, for example, the gas master plan is just in the planning at the moment. So that still has to run its course. And there was the potential gas legislation. So I think the logic is really compelling. But just to get the right structures, the right partnerships, how much gas are we talking about here? We haven't answered all these questions yet. So I think that will come. It may come a bit slower than the oil, but certainly the logic is really compelling. So I'm sure it will happen, but it's very uncertain on the timing at the moment.